Welcome to today's tutorial. So today we are going to see how we can create a executive dashboard or a report which can give a story to the data which was provided to us. Okay, so let us assume that your manager gave you this data set and asked to do some kind of analysis. Even he was in hurry, so he didn't mention much thing. He just told that, okay, so this is the data set. You just do the analysis and let us know the pain areas and how we can improve. So with this requirement, you have to build a executive dashboard, which you have to present to your manager. To do that, first step is to understand the data. Second step would be to transform your data. Why? Because in 90% cases, whatever data you get is always unstructured. Definitely, there would be a proper sequence of columns attached to that data set. However, they will not give any sort of information or story for that data set for you to analyze. So it's always suggested first you clean the data. If the data is clean, then think of how you can transform that data in such a way that you add few more extra columns in order to create a package which will help you to analyze and create a story out of that data. Okay, so let's see how we can do. So before we start creating or create extra columns for our or transforming the data set, let's see what is this data is all about. So right now, the data which you are seeing right in front of in the screen is on a logistics data. This is a data which is being captured by some kind of food delivery app or a food delivery company, I could say. So what they are doing, they're saying that first is the distance column, then the vendor code, then the area, which areas the food is getting delivered, okay, then the order ID, expected pickup time, that means when the food is getting picked up from the restaurant, then the expected delivery time, then is the time or the when the driver was assigned to that particular order, when the driver viewed that order, when driver accepted that order, then that driver went to the restaurant, then the food was picked by the driver went to the customer's location and delivered the food. Once the customer cleared out the dues, then the food is delivered or the status is closed for that particular order. So this is like a phase-wise logistical concept if we try to understand. It's a phase-wise delivery of a consignment, right from when that consignment was requested by the customer. First phase. Second phase, when that consignment was assigned to a particular delivery or some supply chain guy. Okay. S- After that, the consignment was prepared or packed or whatever in the restaurant or in the warehouse. Then that consignment was picked, which is like second or third phase. Then the consignment was delivered to the customer, and once the payment is done, the status is closed for that particular consignment. So with this concept, we are now clear that what is this data is all about. However, right now we cannot create any story from this data. We cannot say that which phase took highest amount of time, correct? We cannot say that how many orders were a good order where we maintain the turnaround as such the expected minus the the actual minus the expected. So whether we met the turnaround or the expected service agreement or we missed that. So to do that, we have to create sets of columns. So now let's discuss what sets of columns we have to create. First, we have to know all the phases which this entire order is going through. So we will try to bifurcate or try to create four phases. Okay. Once we create that four phases, we will try to see that how the turnaround was happening for all those requests. Okay. So with this concept, let's start. First, we are going to create phase one. So phase one would be when the driver was assigned that particular consignment or order and when he accepted it. Okay, so our phase one would be, I will just make it phase one, and for your clear understanding I will make it driver within bracket accepted minus assigned. So this is quite clear, correct? So this is our phase one, how to create a formula. I will show you both the ways. So first way is either you go directly and select that column, and once you select that column you will see that it, as this is a table, it's not a simple Excel data range. It will try to create a reference on that column name so that it can drag the formula till the last available row in this data set. Okay, so this is our delivery acceptance and then minus when the order was assigned. Okay, great. So once we do this, we have to, okay, what is this? Nothing. Okay, so this one I will try to format in times. So right click, format cells. Okay, and then come here. And this one I would be using. So it is, you can see that what this is indicating hour, minute, and seconds. So once I do this, you will find there are few which are absolutely a long number. For example, this one, there might be several, and this one. So let's analyze why this kind of data sets or this kind of results we are getting. So when you put a formula, it's always suggested that try to understand if there are any lag or any kind of unwanted characters present in that formula or in the output. So this is something which is weird to us, correct? I will copy this, paste it in some other blank row or blank cell, and I will see, oh, this is minus. And that cannot be the case, correct? So let's highlight this cell and try to analyze what's happening wrong here. So you can see, or rather I will select this one. You will see that as this is a sample data and assume that it's not created in a proper way and it's like a dummy which is created in, just for a testing purpose, so it's not that correct. You can see that if a driver is assigned a task at 1 p.m. and 9 seconds, it is next to impossible or it cannot be possible that he accepts it before that order is assigned to him, correct? So this is wrong. But we know that whenever we get data, data is always like that. It's not clean. So how to clean this data? I will just quickly delete this column. It's not required. So we would be using a if condition. So before that, I will copy this formula. I will come here and say if. So this is my condition. So if this logical test is less than 0, we have seen that it's minus some number, correct? Because the expected uh, time minus, sorry, the accepted time minus the assigned time when we do a subtract, it's negative. So which is not the ideal situation. So we would be saying that, okay, so if it's less than 0, if it's less than 0, make it blank, because if we have negative value in time doesn't give any sense. So we would say that if it's less than 0, make it blank, or else try to give the value. Now if I put this formula, you would see that all those negative uh, time value would change to blank. Let's see, yes. Okay, there might be several because the row count is close to 3000, correct? So it might be more. Fine. So phase 1 is defined. Now phase 2. So what is a phase 2? Phase 2 is when the driver reaches the restaurant and when the driver post the driver accepted that order and how much time it took to reach that restaurant. So it would be restaurant minus accepted, driver accepted. Okay, so this is our concept for phase 2, and we would do in some other way. Previously we have seen that if you select that formula, definitely we can, but it might be that there are huge columns, it's close to 150 or 180, and it's very difficult for you to scroll back and then come again to that formula. So it's always suggested that you put this bracket and it will give you all the sets of column which are present in that data set. So right now we have seen that we need to subtract a driver at restaurant. So I will just put driver at restaurant. Okay, close that bracket. And second column which I want to extra this is driver accepted. Driver accepted bracket. So once I press enter, you would see this is the value. Now let me quickly format this time, this one, fine. Now let's see if we have any unexpected value here. Oh, good. We don't have any unexpected value present in this column when we do a subtraction. So we don't have to put any if condition. Great. Now let's do one thing. Let's think of a phase 3. So phase 3, so phase 1 is quite clear, correct? We have done that when the order was assigned and then how much time he took to accept it. Second is when once he accepted the order, how much time he took to reach that restaurant, correct? Then the third phase would be when he reached and how much time he took to pick that order. So phase 3 would be food picked minus the time he took to reach the restaurant. So a driver at restaurant. Okay, so this is our phase 3. I will put the formula directly, like food picked minus driver at restaurant. And I will quickly check if we have any negative value. No, fine. So, so quickly I will format this. Okay, and phase 4 would be delivered, actual time to get it delivered. So what would be the actual time to get delivered? So ideally when the food was delivered minus when the food was picked. So these are my 4 statuses, and you could see that it took the time formatting automatically. That's a good sign for us. Okay, we don't have any negative. which is absolutely fine. And all the columns which we have added, we will highlight this with a different color. So these are my phase, so I will highlight this in this color. Okay, so these are my phases on which we would see in future how what is the weightage, that which phase is taking the highest amount of time. Fine. So this columns will give us that kind of idea or that kind of story. Now let's see what is the delta in expected pickup time. We can see that expected pickup time was this. However, the food was picked at this time. So what is the delta between the expected one and the actual one? So we would do delta picked, or rather to be precise, food picked, and then delta food picked from actual minus expected. Okay, so this is our stuff. So food is picked minus the expected pickup time. Oh, we see that there are negatives. So which is a good sign, correct? That it was expected that it should be picked up at 7 o'clock, but before that time it was picked, which is good sign for a business. That means before time you try to deliver on the food, which is good. So here also we will put the same if condition. I will copy this and I will put a if condition stating that if this condition is less than 0, then make it blank, else put this one. So which are blank, it's not required for us to do some any kind of calculations or any kind of story, because if they are blank, it's good for us. However, the pain area would be when they don't meet the time. That time we have to do the analysis, correct? That is the delta. Now we also have a expected delivery time and actual delivery time. So again, it might be that the food was delivered before the expected time. So we would be using a if condition before only. Fine. So delta delivery actual minus expected. Okay, fine. Now let's see. So our expected sorry, the actual was this. If condition we have to put. Well, let's do it like this. We'll put it. Or food delivered minus expected delivery. Fine. Now I will copy this. I always try to put the formula in such a way so that I don't have to type every time. So it's a good practice. If you want to follow, you can definitely use that concept. Okay, fine. So this is quite good. Now let's see the delta food picked status. That means we want to see whether they met the target or they lose the target or delayed or on time. So we would say, rather we can copy the columns from here because we are going to use the same stuff. So I will say if my this particular columns difference is less than 0, which is good for me, so we can say that those food were on time. Even if it might be that before time, but we can say that within on time it was delivered. Otherwise, for all those cases where this number is not less than 0, okay, or rather I could say less than equals to 0, it might be that there are few which exactly matching. So less than equals to 0, so it is on time, or else all those got delayed. Correct. Now let me put, so all those blanks which were negative are on time. Now let's find the delta delivery. Correct. So this formula already contains that. I will copy this, escape, and I would say if this is less than equals to 0, then make it on time or else delayed. Correct. So with this are few columns, or rather this, let's highlight in some other color. Okay, great. Control S and save that data. So these are the columns which we added new to our data set. I will rename this as a raw data. Fine. Now let's create some kind of pivots so that we can create some kind of charts for our executive view. So I will say tables and executive views. So ideally, executive view should be the first tab. Raw data and tables would be post that particular view. So what's the intent right now? So this is the raw data where you have done some kind of massaging, correct? Now we are trying to we will be creating some kind of views. Okay, views in the sense we will try to create some kind of charts or pictorial views or some tables to give the or create the story from this data set. Okay, so to do that, it always suggested or not suggested, it's a best practice I should say, that keep the raw data untouched somewhere, create all the tables or some kind of formula which is getting used from that raw set somewhere, and charts exactly somewhere. Why? You can do a mismatch, sorry, you can do a mix and match. However, it's not that convenient when you try to show it to your executives. They're least bothered on the raw set or raw data set. They just want to understand the story out of that data. So it's always suggested keep the data handy and as a backup for you. However, keep all the views in a single page or single area where they can understand the entire business or try to understand the entire concept of that data. Okay, so with this, let's start. I will simply select this. Let's directly create some kind of chart. So I will try to create this pivot chart. The advantage of this is that if I create a pivot chart, automatically a pivot table will also get created. So which is like two in one kind of function. So I would try to use this pivot table, existing table. I would existing worksheet, I will say. So I will come to table and I will select A2. Okay, so we got this. So first we are going to see how many orders were there in this our datasets which got delayed in terms of pickup. So we would say delta food picked up, correct, and count of this row, or rather this will not give a proper picture, so let's take count of any column which will definitely have rows, it will not have any blanks. So I would think that a vendor code would be something, but let's confirm. We have to take any count of that row or that column which doesn't contain any blank value as a row. So we can take even distance because we see that there is no blank, correct? Fine. So I will come and do a count of distance. And this view will not give a proper thing to me. So, oh, sorry, it's taking some. If that's the case, if it's taking some, how to go and select count? Click on this arrow, it will get value field setting. Click on this and do count. Okay, now we have to change the design from bar. Definitely you can show this kind of bar, but it's always suggested if you try to create a distribution, then it's always suggested to create a pie chart. So we'll come here, chart type, and I will change it to pie. And let's keep like this. Oh, it's better. We'll keep it like this. Okay. Once I create this, we can see that delayed is more in terms of pickup than on time. Correct? And I will make it delta pickup, which is like food pickups. Let's be specific. So food pickup time. Correct. And I don't require this, so I will hide this. Okay, so this I require, so I will keep it. Let's change the view and let's see which one is matching. I need the value, so this one would be a good choice, or this one. Let's keep this one. Okay, so this is the view. First food, or this one I will put it little this side. Right, I will do a control X, come to executive view, paste it somewhere here. This area we would be keeping for our filters. Okay, fine. So one view is done. Similarly, we would try to create another view. Create another view for delta delivery. Correct. I will come here and do a count. The same step, but here instead of pie chart, we would create a donut chart, which is like same kind of representation, but it's a different view. Okay, and let me say delta delivery, food delivery rather. So we can see that the scene is quite good here. Even though the food were picked, the turnaround for picking up the food was not that good. However, the status for delivering is really good. So now let's change the out layout for that. Um, I will go with this. I will do a control X, come here and paste it here. Okay, resize it. It's still a little big, so I'll just adjust the height. Okay, food delivery. And for this one is done. Control S, save it, save the data for your reference. And again, we will try to create another view. So now let's think what we can create. We can create we want to see, or the executive want to see that region wise how much was the sale. Correct, and we have region here. Let's try to create that view. Existing, come to this table. I will select this. Okay, fine. Oh, where are my pivot tables? Ah, yeah. So now I have to create the count of orders across all the areas. So I will select area in the row. Okay, and count of the orders, which would be like count of the rows. So which I can take from any of the columns which doesn't contain any blank row. Okay, so this is the view. I'll remove this. I will change the name or header of this chart to order order across area. Okay, I don't require this, and even I don't require this because this I would be filtering using a filter. Very good. Now let's see some more different kind of design for this, and I would go with this. I need a number. Okay, let's see number. Rather, I will go with this. Good. This is a perfect view for me. We'll do a Control X, come to Executive View, paste the chart here. Okay, resize it. So we can see that East is no CBD is the region or area which has the highest number of orders. So which is good for us to know so that we can deploy a good kind of workforce or more drivers in that region, as we know that that's the region which has the highest number of orders. Then we can see that okay, woodland is something which has very less and north has very less, so we can, if more drivers are assigned to those area, we can do a reassignment of the drivers. Correct. That's good. Now let's go here and try to create a view which will say that which were our top vendors. Correct. Now let's create a pivot chart existing. Okay, and I will paste it in this table here. Press OK. Okay, so these are my vendor codes, and I want to see the count of orders. Oh, that's a, you can see that there are several vendors here, correct? And the count is like not that great to show as a view. However, your executives are interested to know top 10 vendors. Okay. And it's always suggested that if this is the condition where the skewness of the data is too much, it's always suggested that you try to do or show a summarized or a part of that view, which might be top sellers or sorry top vendors or the not performing vendors like that. So we would be doing a top vendors here. So how to do that? Come here in this row level, do a value filter, and you come here, you will see top 10. You can increase the number, it's not a problem. So I would be doing with top 10 count of distance, right? So once I do this count of distance, it's showing it here. However, in actual sense, it's just counting the rows for all the rows which are present in that table. Okay, so once I do okay, it will show you all the top vendors, top 10. I don't require this one. Even I don't require this one. Sorry, I don't require this. Sorry, and I don't require. Oh, I have to did this. These are my top 10 vendors. Let me close this. Fine. However, this view is not great. This is only showing the bars in some scattered way, which again might give a wrong impression. So let's sort the data top till bottom. How to do this? Come to more options, Okay, come to descending, means the highest, the vendor which with the highest number of orders will be taken as the first. So I want to do on the count. Once I do this, you would see that it is arranged in a proper way. Now let's change the design. Let's make it this one or this one. This one we have already used, so this one I would be using. Control X and Control V. We have to resize it. Okay, so these are my views. Now let's do one thing. Again, the data set is really less. The scope is less, I should say. So the views will also be restricted as per this data set. So I will try to create some kind of filters. How to do that? To create a filters from a pivot table, just select that pivot table. So before that, let's see. So these are the tab headers which are present right now. And when you select a particular object like pivot table or a chart, you will get some sets of extra columns which are specific to that object. So as we do, you can see that two columns is getting added, pivot table or pivot table tool, and then we have analyze and design. Design is more sort of adjusting or formatting the look and feel of that table. I want to come to analyze and I want to insert slicers. So filters in pivot tables are known as slicers. I want to create a slicers based on vend area and vendor code. Nothing else we can use right now. Okay, once I create this, I will do a cut, come to this executive view, do a paste cut. So area I would keep the top and my vendors I would keep right below the area so that you can do a filter. But let's let's see one thing. As we have selected this first table or first pivot table and created the slicers, so by default the slicers which are created would be applied only to this filter or in this pivot table. Let's see. If I select this, you will see that only one view is getting changed. Correct? So that's not something which we are looking into. We want to make changes to all these views with these two slicers only. How to connect this slicer to all these pivot tables? Right click and do report connection. You can see that it's only linked to pivot table 3. I want to link it to pivot table 2, 4, and 5. I will do the same for this report connection and I will link it to all the tables. Okay, now if I select central, you will see this is getting selected. This is for central, this is for central, this is for central, and all the top vendors for central. Okay, now if I clear and then select east, it will do the same thing for east. So this filter would be useful for your executives to further drill down to understand in a specific region status. Okay, so this is our executive view, which we would like to create for our executives. Sorry. Now let's see. I want to create one more stuff. I want to create, or our executives are interested to know what was expected turnaround for delivery. Okay, and what is the actual turnaround for delivery? So what is the expected turnaround for delivery? So we would Either it might be a fixed value or we can derive it. So let's see, we would be using an average function. Come to this raw data and expected delivery. I will select like this. Okay. Division error. Let's see what's the division error. What's the issue? Expected delivery. Oh, sorry. This is the date, right? And on a date we've tried to do, it would be difficult. Sorry. So we are going to create an expected delivery. In our data set, we don't have a time for expected delivery, stating that, okay, so 15 minutes is something which needs to be expected as the expected delivery. We don't have that. In that column, we have actual times for delivering that particular order. So which will not give us a proper picture. So let's keep it blank and we can see what's the actual delivery, right? So we can come here and see that what is the delta in delivery, right? So if I come here and say average delivery for delayed, okay, so which one is picked, it's not a problem because negative one we cannot use in our data set. Okay, so I will come here and highlight this column. So we can see that 17 minutes delay is there. So where's that delivery? Okay, so this is the delayed and expected time we can say was 15. So ideally within 15 seconds you should be delivering the order, but you are taking 17 seconds as the delivery time. So what is the delta? This minus this, which would be like 2.29, 2 minutes to 29 seconds. So according to this data set, it is this kind of value, correct? But it might be that the data set which you are handling in actual scenario is huge differences are there. So then you can tend to figure out that which all parameters are causing this kind of issues. Then you can tap that and you can fix that, correct? So these are the intention which helps us to understand that what's the status and how are we wrongly placed in our terms of business. Okay, so executive can take a call stating that, okay, so if the time is quite less, then it's good to go, but they can still ask question that which phase is taking that much of time, correct? So we have to create a view for that. So let's create another view. This time we would be creating a pivot table in a new sheet, and we would be doing on basis of, let's say, vendor wise we want to see what is my phases. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4, and for all I need an average. For all I need average. For all I need average. Okay, rather I need to format all as time. That's the pain area that you cannot format all the fields that go. So you have to, sorry, you have to select one by one and then only you can do the cell formatting. Okay, the first one is remaining. So number, time. Okay, so we have seen all those phases here, and for vendors we have seen the value. So now we have to know what is the actual average, correct? So if you see here, we can see that first phase in average is taking close to 2 minutes. Second phase is taking 13 minutes, close to 30 minutes. Third stage is taking 40 minutes. And while delivery, the fourth stage is actually taking more time. So using this bucket, you can say that, okay, so your fourth phase is taking the highest amount of time. And you can suggest that if possible, you can try to improve the time of delivery. Okay, so this is something you can give as the inference from this data. Let's add a trend line or individual spark line for this trend trend line. Sorry, I will select this one. Come to data, sorry, insert, and under the spark line, I want to create a column kind of view. It will ask for the range. I want to create a range on these four items. Okay, once I press, you can see that highest time is taking for delivery. Now just drag it and you will see that it's getting added. So drag it till end. Okay, so this is the spark line which will give you a view that which phase for which vendor is taking huge time. This would be a detailed view, correct? Now it's little cluttered. We will not be able to see the content properly. I will close this. Let's make it visible. So I will make it little like this, rotate, little slanting rather. Okay, and adjust. Okay, so these are the views. And when you try to do this kind of stuff, it's always suggested that remove the background color for all those, or rather no, oh, sorry, blank, so that it's not impacting. So we can see good. So these are my trend lines for all those phases. And if your executives are keen to understand this, they can definitely check out this one. Okay, now let me rename that as phase level trend, and I will move this to next to executive view. Okay, I will add a slicer if required for region wise or area wise, so that if the executives are looking into do a filter on a region, they can simply select and it will give the filter, correct? So this view I will keep it here, and I will remove the background white colors from view. I will come and remove the grid lines so that let's insert. It's not that good way. It's not looking good. So let's improve that by making it as usual in this way. However, wrapping the text, which would be far good looking than the one which we were seeing earlier. Okay, it looks good. And I can highlight this, and I can now create some kind of basic formatting for our understanding, and I will keep a space out here so that I can press the slicer. Good. So this view is good for us for showing the trend lines. Okay, great. Now let's try to do some kind of statistical analysis using this data. In ideal situation, if the distance is more, then the delivery time will definitely be more, correct? If the distance, it's actually in ideal situation that if the distance is more, definitely it will take more time for the drivers to reach that destination and deliver that consignment. So there might be some kind of correlation between these two columns in ideal situation. However, if you don't find that relation, then you cannot do much kind of prediction. Why? Because if there is a relation between both this column, then you can say that if my distance is increasing, then definitely my delivery time will increase, due to which I will try to adjust my expected delivery time for uh, for those sorry, consignments, and I would be able to inform our customer stating that okay, so the distance is more, definitely it will take more time for us to deliver that food. So that can be a expectation which a customer would be knowing. To do that kind of analysis, first we have to know if there is a correlations between distance and delivery time. So we would see that for all those accounts or all those uh, data sets where we have missed the turnaround, if the distance is keeping a keeping a tab on delivery time. Right now the data set what we have, we cannot, it's on specific time, we don't have any actual time taken, it's the time stamp, it's not the actual time taken, otherwise we would have done using the expected time column even. So let's create another set of filter, a small filter for our statistical analysis, and a new tab. Okay, so I will put the distance in the row, and delta delivery here, and I will make it average. Sorry, let me see what is in delta delivery. Okay, so it's a time. No, it's a string, sorry. So delta delivery status I should not be taking. I should be taking actual delta delivery, this one. Average, and then the delivery status I will keep here. And ideally I need only for delayed, because for on time it would be blank, correct? Okay, and I will do a number format on this time. Great. So now we know that for distance wise, if this is the one. So now let's see if we have any correlation on distance and missed delivery, if we have any correlation, correct? So there's a formula known as correlation. Array would be my first array, this one, and my second would be this. So how the statistical function works, right now it's point something. Let's create a dummy table, distance, turnaround. So distance, let's make it 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. It's a hypothetical example, but just to give you an idea on how this correlation function or the statement works. So turnaround is 15 time whatever we have into distance. So if the delivery is 5 minutes, then if the distance is more, it will take that much time on average per minute, or per distance it should take 5 minutes. So if it's 10 distance, then it would be 5 into 10, so like that. So I would say 5 into this value, so 50. So as we go up, the value would increase, correct? So in this situation, if we try to create a correlation, we would see that these two columns are perfectly correlated with each other, and it will give a value as 1. So if we are trying to use the correlation function, the result value, if it's within one range, the closer to 1, the more related or closely related those columns are. So if it's close to zero point 0.8, that means it's mostly related to each other and they're close to 1. So this formula is always used to find a correlation. However, the data set what we have, we cannot make much sense out of that. So there's no correlation between the distance and the raw time, delivery delayed time, correct? So this is ideally why, because these are my, I could say, these are dummy data, so it's not actually formatted one. So this is my statistic tab, fine, which I would keep it the backend only for us. Let's keep it here. Now let's learn, or let's see how we can create a conditional formatting. Okay, so whichever field or delayed is more than 1 hour, let's flag them as red. Whichever is less than or greater than 30 minutes, or let's make uh, two conditions only, not get into more complicated stuff here in the first video. So let's see which all are greater than 1 hour. 1 hour, we will format them as red. So new rules, come here, and I would say this cell, as I have to drag it down, so I will remove the absolute reference to that cell, is greater than, we have to say time, right? Because 1 hour. So time format, I will quickly show you how this time works. If it's more than 1 hour, then format it in red. Okay. So how this time works? So let me show you. So time, it says hour, minute, and seconds you have to mention. Okay. So we have mentioned one, which is like more than 1 hour. And if it is in the same cell, we would add another formatting, that new rule. If the cell is, again, sorry, remove the absolute reference, is less than time one, then format it as green. You would see that it's highlighted as green right now. Correct. Now I will format this to entire range here. Okay, so you can see that which all are red, which are more than 1 hour. Correct. So these would be our visual clues stating that okay, so these are my requests or stuff which are taking more time. So we have to go to that vendor and we have to say that okay, so you're taking more time here. Correct. So with this, I guess we have covered conditional formatting. We have covered how we can use the correlation function. We have seen how we can create or extend the data sets into different tables or different columns. And we have created the executive view. Using that, we have created some kind of first level trend using the spark lines. Also, we have seen conditional formatting. We have seen how we can create filters from or slicers using the pivot table. So I guess we're quite good right now in this particular video. In next video, we would see some advanced feature where we are trying to know how we can use or how we can do this transformation feature using Excel pivot table. Okay, so that's something which is advanced part. Do let me know are if you want to explore that features because that is little complicated, or else if you are satisfied with the one which we have shown in this entire session. Do let me know in the comment section so that at least I will start preparing that for you. Okay, thank you for your time and hope that this video was or this tutorial was helpful to you. In case you have any questions, do mention that to me and I will definitely come back to you with the proper solution. Thank you.